Sky Squad, we are back in the building, and the first thing that we got to talk about is Giselle. You know, last week she was accusing the people on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip of stealing the tequila, the Casa Azul to be exact. But in a new interview with our friends over at House of Aaron, we are discovering that she allegedly also had accused some of the cast and or production of the Real Housewives of Potomac season 7 reunion of taking her phone. Oh yes, of taking her phone, only for it to be found later, I believe. Only for it to be found later, I believe. Not only is she offending people over there on the podcast, she done offended the gays, she done offended the Jewish people as well. Okay. For more on that, click the link in the description of this video if you want to know more on those things, because I just don't have the mental capacity to deal with Gizelle and all of her shenanigans at this point in time. I have told y'all what I felt about that podcast. They need a good producer over there to help them edit out some of the things that they are saying that are offensive. And I'm not understanding why Robin, who has allegedly also worked in PR, isn't censoring this thing or doing the editing herself. Okay. With that being said, make sure you guys check out the interview with Candiace, Dillard Bassett, and Aaron from House of Aaron in the link in the description. You guys can get more of that there. But you know, Candiace did call Gizelle in the last episode a Karen, and I'm starting to wonder, like, Gizelle, what go on, man? What go on? Okay. Quiet as it's kept, you guys. I honestly am not feeling my best today, but I'm still gonna give y'all this review. Okay, we still gonna get through it. And that's just gonna be that. Okay, because even when I don't feel well, your boy gotta work. Cheers to you. All right, so let's get into it. We start this episode off with Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. This is season 3 in Thailand, episode 6. It's called Tantric Tantrums. The ladies are all getting ready for dinner. This is post the argument where Gizelle and Candiace were screaming at each other because Gizelle wanted to go search Candiace's room for this here bottle of Casa Azul. You would have thought this Casa Azul contained the elixir of life, okay? And this woman is just going she is going ham, okay, about this bottle. But anyway, it has disrupted Pepsi's spirit and his soul, and he cannot take it no more. This man is breaking down. He is crying. He is on the floor. It is bad, okay? Now, not as bad as Leah's going to be feeling in a minute, okay? Or as bad as she felt in the last episode, or as bad as she felt in the previous episode, or the one before that, or the episode before that. But anyway, it's bad, okay? So he got an announcement to make. He got to let the girls know, I am tired of all this crying. I'm tired of all this fighting. I'm tired of all this making up. Is it real or is it fake? Because what I'm giving you is genuine and from the heart. And I don't understand these carrying ons that y'all got going on up in here. And I'm like, Pepsi, you must not understand that they're trying to make a TV show up in here. So, of course, we're going to get some drama. Didn't nobody warn you? Nobody gave you the dossier. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gave you the pamphlets on what you was getting yourself into. They must have just told you that this was this was like a regular girls trip. Okay, no. When you add cameras to it, which heightens the experience, and they got to make some TV, okay? So Candiace does apologize for the fighting, and Leah is having like a little timid, emotional moment, and Porsche just steamrolls right past that. I don't know if she couldn't hear her, okay? I don't know if it just that she don't like what she's saying, or she just don't like her. Well, I know she don't like her, but you know, anyway, Porsche, goes through an apology for the group or whatever, and she realizes that Pepsi just ain't really cut out for this. He's not. And barring all that, tonight, though, is Marisol's cocktail making night. Okay. Now, quiet as it's kept, I actually had to start this video all over again, right? Let me tell you why. Because they are using, names, okay, to make these cocktails that the more I said it in the last version of this video, the more I was like, I'm gonna have to take this out. Okay, I'm gonna have to take these names out. So I'm not gonna give y'all the names as they gave them on the show. I'm just gonna tell you they was making drinks, okay? And they got to make virgin drinks for Leah because she don't drink. Now, Marisol does say something that I did find a little bit offensive. She's basically like, hoping that everybody can enjoy themselves because it's not a party unless there's booze. I mean, look at poor Leah. If she had a cocktail, maybe things would be more festive for her in Thailand. And I'm like, Marisol, the girl don't drink because she had the problems. Come on now. Like, I mean, we could at least be a little bit sensitive. I mean, now granted, Leah got a lot of things going on, okay? A lot of things going on. We're going to talk about those in this episode, but I just feel like, I mean, give her a break. Give her a break. Break her off a piece of that cocktail bar. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know. Listen, I don't know if maybe this ain't a safe space for Leah. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe Housewives, I almost think that y'all got to answer me this question. Is Housewives a place for sober people? I don't know. I think maybe if you're sober and you just don't drink, right? Let's say you just don't drink because you just don't like it. Okay, so I think that's one thing. But if you don't drink because you have had issues with it in the past, then being around a whole lot of alcohol day and night, is that the healthiest thing for you? I just have to ask. I don't know what the answer to that question is because, if I just don't know. And I'm trying to be sensitive to people that have had issues with alcohol in their past. Is this a safe space for them? That's a good question, I feel like. That's a question that I feel like one would need to ask before they go on this type of international trip. You know what I'm saying? And I know that the deal was allegedly it was supposed to be Leah and Tinsley, who were from New York. Tinsley introduced Leah on the show, okay? Even though we know that the Leah suggestion allegedly also came from Bethany, right? But it was through Tinsley that Leah was introduced to us. And they developed a friendship, so it was supposed to be them as the duo. Good thing that wasn't the case because no shade to you, Tinsley, but I mean, Porsche is definitely way more exciting, dynamic, and funny, okay, than anything Tinsley could have brought. And I do feel like it would have been even more down if Tinsley had come, okay? Anyway, so they make the first drink, and they get to going on, and Marisol goes to check on the food, and tonight is really all about celebrating the memory of her mom, Mama Elsa. And I think that's great, although it's not reflected in the food or the drinks, but just having a party, getting dressed up, and talking a bunch of ish. Okay. Now, Whitney's like, I'm ready to get naked and be by the pool, but Gizelle is like, no, first thing on the menu is the drama. Okay. So she turns to Leah and says, Leah, you told me that you thought Porsche hated you. Now, I told Porsche, and Leah's like, smartly, Leah's like, of course you did. Of course you did. What else would you do? Okay, what else would you do? Now, quiet as it's kept, now a sober Leah is definitely one who is able to articulate herself very well. Okay. However, it was really going to be she was going to be steamrolled regardless of whether she was sober or whether she was not, okay? Because Porsche goes through the picture drama, right? And she didn't tag Leah because she doesn't like Leah, okay? She's not her vibe. Leah says that she feels the same about Porsche, and she doesn't know why Porsche doesn't like her, and quite frankly, she doesn't care. But Gizelle is like, but you cared enough to bring up this whole idea of being tagged in a photo, okay? Porsche is like, yeah, she did care because she brought it up to Candace. And Leah is like, yeah, because we talked about it, about the social media aspect of the show and its negative impact on us, because it sends a clear message. Now, is it cyberbullying, as Candace has stated that it was last week? No, okay? But it did match up with the things that you had been saying. And we get a flashback of Porsche talking about this being a sisterhood, of knowing someone's true story after Leah had been crying and expressing herself about the things that she had gone through after her second season of The Real Housewives of New York. Now, as she's doing all this explaining, and as I stated, Leah did a great job of explaining and expressing herself calmly. She was not ready for Porsche, because Porsche was like, you know what? Bye, Leah. Instead of poor Leah, you don't like me. I don't like you. Leah, bye. Okay. So that's when you get the Leah saying, Porsche, bye. Porsche's like, Leah, bye. Leah, Porsche, bye. Okay. So it's just bye, bye, bye. Okay. It's just buys all around. So Portia in her confessional says she's trying to get this Portia energy, but if I gave it to her, she couldn't handle it. And that's honestly the truth. I do kind of feel like there is some desire to get Portia. I don't know. It just feels like a thing with Leah and Candiace and Portia, right? And it almost kind of feels like Portia ain't innocent. Okay, Portia's not innocent in stirring up the stuff. Okay, but she to me seems funnier than she does anything else, and maybe that's why I might miss some of the things that Portia might do, because she's funny. So maybe I'm too busy laughing to realize when she might be poking and prodding, but I can't help it if I'm laughing. It's not my fault. If she is funny, I can't help it. Okay. So anyway, I know, y'all read me in the comments, but if I gotta laugh. I have got to laugh at these things, because otherwise, doing these shows can sometimes be draining because it's so much drama. So when I got a character that I can latch onto with laughter, then I am excited about it. Okay, I'm excited about it. Meanwhile, Portia tells her, listen, girl, if you want to have an effect on the group, be a part of the group. And what you're doing with me is you're trying to have that I had a moment with Portia type of situation. And you've been doing nothing since you've been here. Don't earn your check through me, earn your check through you. Okay. And then she says in her confessional that Leah wants all the smoke and I don't have it. Go get one of your cigarettes. Let me break down what Portia said real quick. I do not like when housewives, whether it is actually happening or not, acknowledge the fact that another housewife is trying to make a moment with them. Do I think that Leah per se is trying to make a moment with Portia? I don't think so, because Gizelle is the person that brought it up. I feel like Leah is getting the effects of that comment about Alexia's story being boring, and Portia has not let it go. Okay, I think that's pretty much what it is. But I also think it's something else that Whitney is calling out. Whitney is going to, well, before I get to that, Leah says that she engages with certain people there, like Candiace and Whitney and Heather, but Alexia tells her, like, we don't all have to like each other. And that's also true as well. So Whitney says, I want to give you some feedback. Now, this was probably one of Whitney's better episodes in Housewives in general. She tells Leah, there's a lot of complaining from you. I'm tired. I'm PMSing. What the conclusion is, the vibe that you're putting off isn't the vibe that maybe you want to put off. Okay. And Whitney accurately summed up Leah in one sentence. Okay. Leah's response is, my mother's a therapist. This is how I turned out. I'm expressive. What does that have to do with the price of anything? I really don't get it. I don't get it. What does that mean? It sounds like an excuse. I mean, the issue is you've got a lot of things happening to you all at the same time. And whether that's by choice or whatever, you have just been a sourpuss. There's a sourpuss on most of these trips. On the one in the Berkshires, it was Vicky. Vicky was a sourpuss. Everything was so wrong. She just, so much going on. Oh my God, my boyfriend broke up with me. Little did we know he had allegedly broken up with her months ago. It was just like so much happening. And it's like, to be honest with you, have you ever been on a trip with somebody that just complain all the time? They are really a buzzkill, and nobody wants to be around that. So Leah, get it together, okay? And if you can't get it together, this probably isn't the trip for you, right? And sometimes you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, okay? It might be time to fold, as we're about to see. So then Marisol recognizes that Heather has really tried to vibe with the Miami girls, but she also reveals that, one-on-one Candiace is great. But in a group, she gets loud and crazy. Everybody else thinks that she's the loudest person there. Okay. And Candace says that the group is up Portia's ASSS. So they all agree with her. Now, Portia says it's a lot of room that she could hold all those ladies in. And Candace says, well, that's why it's so big. It's a lot of bees in there. Okay. And Portia says, well, you want to be one of them. Now, let's talk about this moment right here. To me, it seems as though there is residual angst from Candace with regards to the Portia situation, Portia supporting Monique on the chat room. That's to me what all this, it seems like it all stems from. Otherwise, it's really unexplainable to me. It really is. Because it just feels like, it does feel like Candace just has a thing where she don't really F with Portia like that. That's what it seems like. But that's what it seems like. It may not be what it actually is. Because again, as we know, later on, they cool. And Candace came to her wedding. So whatever this is, whatever this moment is, I can't really explain it to y'all because I don't really quite understand it myself. It just seems to me to be conflict just for no reason because I don't really understand it. The Monique and Portia situation, I mean, the Monique and Portia being friends and Portia standing up for Monique, at the end of the day, that was the perspective that she had come from. And I feel like you can't hold a person, you can't be mad at a person for having that perspective. It's just it's how she viewed the situation. It's like we got to be able to at a certain point in time, this Monique and Candace thing has got to go away. Okay. It has been at this point, what, 3 years ago? I don't want to talk about it no more. And I feel like these two ladies should be able to get along because Candace and Portia are both funny as HE double hockey sticks. I feel like they should really be the ones yakking it up, cackling, and doing a doggone thing together. But instead, it's Gizelle and Portia because they had such a good working relationship on the chat room. So anyway, Heather feels like she got all the shade from Gizelle, and because Gizelle said that she doesn't believe anything that came out of Heather's mouth, and she made Heather a suspect. And Candace is wondering, well, is Heather going to tell Gizelle, like, girl, like, this is how I really feel about you, like she did in the car. And Heather does take that moment to say, like, listen, I wanted to flip the table up on you. I wanted to go off in that moment because you have basically written me off as somebody who can't be trusted, and without even trying to really get to know me. And at that point in time, Gizelle says, well, we've got 2 days left, so I'm open to trying to get to know you. And so Heather reveals that she has always wanted to be liked, and Gizelle is like, I don't understand that. And this was actually a dope moment for Heather, because for Heather, she's like, this is probably what makes Heather seem so wishy-washy, is this desire to be liked. But in her opening up about that, and as Gizelle is saying, she doesn't understand that, it didn't allow space for Heather to be vulnerable in that moment. And Heather had to explain that to you. Like, I'm being vulnerable with you right now. I am telling you, this is how I have been. And at that point, Gizelle is like, well, I've never really had anybody try to be vulnerable with me. I'm like, girl, that's because every time they do, you would take that information and you would likely run and tell the group and make it into something else. Okay. Why would anybody be vulnerable around you, Regina George? Like, why? So anyway, at this point in time, Whitney has a moment with Heather where she basically comes to Heather's defense and says, Heather really is a good person. She's ride or die. And I've learned to sort of read in between the lines of understanding, when she's having those moments of insecurity and when she's actually standing up for herself. And I enjoy when she stands up for herself more, because I feel like that's the real person inside. So they go outside and they have a little moment by the pool. They end up hugging, and then they jump in the pool with their mics on. Okay. Afterwards, everybody except Portia and Gizelle jump in the pool, and then they go into the confessional, and then they talk about smoking the ganja and things like that. And so the night ends well. But the next day is Temple Day. Okay. And there's going to be a tantric dinner. All right. temples and tantric. So anyway, apparently this is the temple is going to be Leah's day, all right, and the tantric dinner is going to be Whitney's thing. Now, Whitney going to the temple is dressed in a bra top, which might not be appropriate for the temple. Boo. Okay, and the Miami's girls got to wonder, like, is this how she was showing up at the church in the Mormon church? Is that how she was doing it? Low key, the Miami girl. Low key, listen, Alexia and Marisol are shady. Okay, they are shady, and I love it. All right, I love it because they kind of like. It seems like they're fun time girls, but they're also kind of reserved in a little bit, you know. So they kind of like look down and judge things. It's just very interesting to me. So, as they're talking, Leah runs off to her room. Okay, Leah is sick. Long story short, Leah is sick. She's got the dry heaves. She got a headache. She got the diarrhea. She needs the EMS person to come. She needs to go to the hospital. And she stays in the hospital for the rest of the episode, missing the temple, missing the people tell Gizelle that she's going to date a broke person, and missing the Pepsi telling Porsche that she's going to have trouble with a lesbian. That's what she missed. Okay, that is what she missed. They said their prayers. They bowed. They did the appropriate things for the temple, and then they got some fortunes told to them, and then they all headed back. That's essentially what she missed. She's also gonna miss, okay, the tantric dinner. All right. So, as they get to dinner, though, oh God, Portia, she thinks she's the last person there, and they tell her, no, Alexia, we're still waiting on Alexia. Portia's like, Alexia, who? Alexia, Portia don't been know these. She don't been want to know these girls. Not one single iota. She don't know these girls at all. And so anyway, I don't know. It's like a tantric dinner. They supposed to be tasting all of these things in their mouth. There's a dildo floating around. Every time I hear the word dildo, I think about Nene Leakes. I don't want to touch dildo. I don't want to be near a dildo. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's just one of those. These are one of those dinners that I'm just like, okay. But the cool thing about this was essentially, you know, Whitney revealing that on the show she had a moment where she did a naked, almost naked sort of paint sensual thing with her husband, and when that aired, he ended up getting fired. And how he supported her through that situation, because she was going to quit the show. And as it turns out, she ended up making more than he did the following year. Well, and I guess maybe at that point, it had been 7 months in the year, and she had made more than he had all of last year. So that worked out really, really well for her. So we also get a couple of flashbacks of, you know, housewives doing things with their husbands that seem cringy, like, you know, taking baths with them and trying to do little sexy things that, you know, on a Cinemax might look cute, but on a housewife show, we just all end up looking like, did I need to see that? I don't know. So anyway, the pole dances come and everybody dances on the pole. Whitney and Candiace go off later and have their ganja. Portia gets more KFC, and Whitney falls in the pool. The end. As far as we know, Leah is still in the hospital. As far as we know, Leah should be on a flight home. Okay? Now, with that being said, that is all I got for y'all. My energy is dwindling, okay? Dwindling. But I was like, I'm going to give y'all this review come by hook or by crook, and we made it. All right? With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video.